Well, the first priority is clearly the state of the national economy. The decisions that are going to be taken by the electorate at this election will determine whether in fact we get ourselves out of our current difficulties in terms of the massive debt that we now have or not. And Conservative policy is at the heart of that. We want to restrain public expenditure so as to enable us to give the tax cuts which will incentivise wealth generation, concentrating on generating wealth through business. That's why we are so opposed to Labour's jobs tax, and we're determined that it shouldn't be implemented, and we're prepared to take difficult decisions to make sure that that happens. At the same time, we also recognise that the most vulnerable in our society are often those elderly on fixed incomes, and we want to ensure through the pension system that they are helped. And it's interesting that Labour's final retreating point has been, as they try to cling on to power, to accuse us of not being willing to do things for that group, and even to accuse us in fact of trying to get rid of some of the perfectly reasonable benefits like the winter fuel allowance to which they're entitled, all of which are of course entirely untrue. So reviving the national economy is key because it offers us the opportunity for the future of being able to use wealth sensibly and to provide the public services we all want in this country. Second big issue is education. Our educational standards are poor by Western world standards. We've got to do something about it, and what Michael Gove is proposing in terms of the revolution in our education through academies, streaming, giving parents much more power to set up new schools and head teachers much more discretion as to how they run their schools is another key message. And the third for me is undoubtedly crime, the anxieties people have about living in a society where social ties are falling apart, creating a great sense of gloom and depression for the future. We believe we can re-empower people to work with the police, that we can do creative things to reduce reoffending, and that if we can put together our package, we can lead to a society where crime rates are significantly lowered, and that is our goal. Now, looking locally, there are some important things as well. Helen will be leading the charge for you on that, but we recognise that the NHS is of particular concern locally. The future of Kingston Hospital is of great importance, and you will know that David Cameron's made quite clear that the maternity services will remain there, and we've also made quite clear that we don't approve of the government's proposals to somehow concentrate all services in one or two locations. If there is support for a local hospital which is providing good services, we believe that that should be supported by government for the future. Also, I'm aware that crime is a significant issue locally, and I'm sure that Helen will be campaigning on that as well. You are immensely fortunate to have Helen as your candidate. She has clearly been doing an immense amount of work over the last 3 years. She knows the constituency intimately, she lives locally, and I think she has the opportunity of offering the residents of Kingston and Surbiton a really good future in terms of their representation in Parliament.